I'm a parent in South Salem. My son was one of the children who was affected concerning this incident at Lewisboro with the knife. And the reason why I wanted to talk tonight was concerning the way the code of conduct was handled. You're asking the kids to follow the code of conduct, parents to sign it so that their children follow it. The board did not follow the code of conduct because the police or the youth officer was not informed of what happened with the situation. When we went to the police station this morning to talk to them, they had no clue of anything that happened. Waiting 7 hours to tell a parent that something happened to their child in the school. Seems like this incident happened at 9 a.m. We were not informed about anything that happened until almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That seems a little atrocious for a parent to not know that something has happened to their child. And not informing the police officer where it's actually written in the code of conduct that it has to be done within the business day. And nothing was done. Also seems like something happened that we as parents are not being informed about. So I ask that we as parents were asked to follow the code of conduct, even standing here speaking to you. The children are asked. I asked also the board to also follow the code of conduct. Follow what is written and inform the parents of what happens. Not wait 7 hours.
Thank you. I appreciate it. The one thing, I don't go back and forth, but the one thing I do want to say about that was there are all kinds of prescriptions we have for what we are allowed to do and not allowed to do. So there are things, for example, I will tell you that on the board, we don't know a lot of details of this incident for legal reasons. There are all kinds of legal protections set up for all the children involved. I'm confident from what we were told that the safety of the students was paramount, and that was secured. In terms of when parents were notified or when the police were notified, the procedures that they followed, I think, were supposed to be, was satisfied. I mean, there's a question about why we only notified one building, not the other four. We went through legal counsel.
That's not what
That wasn't your question, but there's a question we got from other people about why we notified only one building. A lot of what we did because of advice of counsel, right? So a lot of what we did, there are legal procedures we have to follow, and that's why we tried to do it that way.
So you don't want to go back and forth on this. One statement I would like to state is that you had children talk to the counselors at the school. The kids were talked to, the specific kids who were affected. Shouldn't parents be called at that moment? Yes. Once children had to go to counselors or anything that happened to them, shouldn't parents be informed? Not 7 hours later.
Yes. All right. So we'll. So,
the only thing I would say on that is that, and I don't want to.
Aaron, please stop. Thanks. Try.
I don't want to debate it. I'm not saying it to be argumentative. Is that these are very complex situations that the district has to investigate, and they need to make sure they have the information correct. We do sit in local parentis of the children during the school day, and we do have to interview and conduct interviews. Parents should be called at some point to share the information, obviously, but
7 hours.
I'm not going to comment on that particular situation. But I am just trying to explain that when an investigation is going on, we don't sit down and have to call a parent before we speak to a child. That's not required under law, and it's not something that we can do. It's not practical. So I don't want to engage in this too much because it's really a very sensitive topic, and look, I will tell you, a very complex topic, and certainly something that continues to go on, and an unfortunate incident, but something we're working through. Very complicated situation. But
we'll talk more. I'm sorry that
since you're talking about your code of conduct for next year, keep this in mind.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Item 12 is a consent agenda. The Board of Education uses a consent agenda to make better use of meeting time. Trustees may have had questions on consent agenda item, answered in advance, be able to vote on that item without further discussion. The any trustee can pull any item.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't get this time. Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry.
That's okay.
My name is Scott Daly.
Yeah.
I have 2 daughters. I go to LES. I also want to speak about the incident. I think that the administration in the school failed to protect the other kids in the school. They didn't know the full extent of what was going on. They knew that a child had a weapon. They didn't know what was going on in the school. There's 430 some odd kids in that school. What happened in the Commons at that time, whoever was in that at that time, in the heat of that, you know, you're there as the sake of being there. All the other kids in that school had a potential for injury. You didn't know the plans of that student. There could have been other kids involved. No considerations were taken into that. You should have put the school on lockdown. Notifying the parents, we can go through all that, we can argue about that, but there was a weapon in a school. That school got put on lockdown, I think 2 or 3 times this year, either by accident or for whatever reason. It should have been put on lockdown. My daughter was in danger. Their kids were in danger. Other kids were in danger. History has taught us nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, I don't want to talk about Sandy Hook. I don't want to compare it to that because it's not the same incident. It could have been. Thank God it wasn't. Thank God there wasn't more to it than just a child with a knife in the Commons. But if there had been, we would have failed, and there'd be a completely different situation right now. I mean, I don't know how many consultants came after Sandy Hook and worked with Christy Harris and with the administrators and walked through safety measures. Either they're completely incompetent, they had a lack of training, or they don't care. Now, I will tell you this. I know Christy Harris personally. She cares about our kids. Most of the kids in that school do. I also think they're competent. I don't know what happened. I think it's a question that you have to bring to them, though. This could have been a lot worse. Thank God it wasn't. That's all.
Thank you. All right. The Board of Education uses a consent agenda to make better use of meeting time. Trustees may have had questions on a consent agenda item, answered in advance, be able to vote.